let's keep it going. So, after the cargo ship, we just get a little cutscene here. There's a selection, but it doesn't matter, so just mash through. Mash until Eris asks you about skin complexion, right? Now, if you're really into tan girls, you might want to take the time to menu down to saying that you want her to get a tan, but, you know, I like a fair complexion myself, so it works out for me. And then, yeah, it's just kind of a zigzag down and right to get down to the stairs down here as soon as you can. And then, we've just got a cutscene here. This is one of those cutscenes, though, where it's easy to overmash. You know, just for the health of your hands, don't, like, you should pay attention. Don't just sit here and mash this just because this is a cutscene. You don't have to mash all the way until Heidegger and Rufus come out of the ship here, and then they start talking. So you have quite a bit of time to just rest your hands, and then when Rufus turns around here and says, "I expect results," that's the last text box. So at that point, you can also stop mashing, rest your hands, because then all that happens is a whole bunch of visual stuff where he chases people around, he gets in the helicopter, flies away. Okay, so as the helicopter flies, at this point, I buffer up, right, and run, in order to get into the villa here. So it's up, right, and run, just to buffer as you go in here. And then when Cloud is behind this ball, I switch to just up. So up and right, just up. That gets you right in there. That time it was a little late because of the unpausing action, but up, right, into just up, into just right now. Just right will actually navigate Cloud all the way there, and then I switch to down right for the stairs, and then switch to down left for the basement, and kind of get around here. This guy says two things, and I grab these things, and I grab them in this order. This actually makes a difference for menuing later, so I grab them in the order of I come straight down to this thing, up to that thing, up to this one, and then I leave. And that's actually gonna matter for a menu later. All right, and then just like it was straight right to get in here, it's straight left to get back out, into down left, and then you can go down right here to get down the stairs. And then just whip around and leave Costa del Sol. And immediately now, as you're leaving Costa del Sol, it is time for our next world map segment. And you should be buffering just down and left here. Remember, it's extra important to buffer movement into a world map because you get 13 frames of free movement for doing it. So down and left, and then come around this corner, and we are going up to Mt Corel. For a world map segment, I should switch us over to the world map RAM values here. So down left and... Ooh! So you see there, even though RNG initiated the same, because IGT was the same, because it was a save state, my slightly different movement caused a battle check to happen on a different RNG index. And it was one that ended up giving us a battle. So right there you can see how even though the world map RNG is seeded based on IGT, it is exactly down to your movement as far as when you're going to get these battles. All right, and straight into Mt Corel. Expect one battle on that world map. You can get through in 0, and it's awesome. And if you get 2, you're allowed to complain. All right. So next up, we enter Mt Corel. Whoo, baby. All right. So this part is just a lot of tricky movement. It's not nearly as bad as like the train graveyard, but you know, there's tricks to all these different screens for good movement. First of all, the first screen is very easy. All you got to do is just hold up and run, and you'll go all the way through the screen. Oh, except you get on this particular step route, you'll get a fight right here, and this is where we start to take steps. So it's 2.5 on this step route. It's 2.5 steps after this fight, and if we peek at Big Shoes, we can see it's because we will just barely hit this encounter if we don't walk. But if we walk just a little bit, we'll go along the green line and then pass under it. So yeah, this is for this step route. It's 1, 2.5, and then start running. But yeah, just run up through the screen. And now this screen, so this screen is also just run up for the first part. You start out by just running up, but then when Cloud jumps like this, start holding L1, so that when Cloud lands, he goes up left until he jumps again, at which point you can release L1. And then right when he gets about here, like you see this kind of blue rock, when he's kind of going around the blue rock, start holding L1 again. And that hugging of the walls actually saves a couple fractions. So where was my save state again? Oh yeah, right here. But that was before the battle. Yeah, we'll go through the battle again, I guess. So run straight up through this, just straight up through the first screen. If you get a battle here, there you go. If you're on this step route, 2.5 steps. Or a similar one, I suppose. 1, 2.5. Yeah, that's also important to note. This, holding L1 here is a very small difference. But holding L1 here is a very big one. In fact, I'm even going to show it. So, you can just hold up here, but let's take a look at my... Let's reopen these values. So let's take a look at the difference on step ID. So here, we leave on step ID 20 to 24, but now we'll add the L1. So 20 to 24, 16, 192. So indeed, it saved 2 steps and a fraction to hold L1 there. That is huge, huge difference. Absolutely do it. All right. So then for the next screen, buffer down left into this screen. So it's down left, and then when you get around this corner, you can just hold down to get all the way down to about here. Down will carry you all the way down to about here, at which point you do need to do a little bit of down left. I just use R1 for a little bit to get right here. On this step route, we're going to get a battle about right here as we do that. So that's down left into just down around the corner, and now it's just down all the way. There's our battle that we expected, though. Continue the down left, and then as I mentioned, right about here, I use the R1 and then release it to get around here and just down through here. Then it's a straight right through this room, nothing special. And straight right here for a minute. Okay, so now, this is a step route specific thing, but many step routes are on this. I think that this is a really important thing to talk about because a lot of step routes do the preemptive Genova and then are on these same steps in Corel. So here's the deal. For your next battle, if you get it after this post right here, you see you got the hole, and then there's like a section, and then there's like a section, right? If you get the battle within these last 2 sections before the jump or after the jump, that's good, and pay attention to that. It doesn't mean your steps are great necessarily. Your steps are great if you got past the jump, but there's a little trick you can do if you get it after this spot. All right, so we're gonna get it after the jump. Excellent. So the reason is that there's 12.5 steps that this step route takes at this point, and if you got the but there's also this pitfall little thing that you can wait to do the steps after. So there's gonna be a pitfall here, and I hate walking into the pitfall by doing the 12.5 steps. It's a really awkward amount of steps to do right here, because you'll end up like walking into the pitfall, and then you might fall, and it sucks. So if you got the fight after that spot that I showed, it means that, and you're on the step route, it means that you can do the steps after you jump off the pitfall, is what I'm getting at. So for the pitfall, by the way, we're going to have to show this a couple times here because these pitfalls are super annoying. So what I do is run straight into them, and then when you see Cloud actually start to make the animation, ignore the text box. When you see Cloud start to actually make the animation, give Circle a nice solid press. If you were to like use Turbo doesn't work. I was just holding the Turbo button on the emulator. But if you just give it several solid presses, it's so weird. It's like Turbo doesn't work, so it's not like you have to press it a bunch of times. But holding it or one big solid press doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. So I don't know what exactly the game wants from you at this point, but I would recommend practicing this, even though it's something really stupid. I'm actually like fucking flabbergasted that it's not working every time right now when I actually try, and I'm not experimenting. Like, what the fuck did I do wrong there? I don't get it. I don't. On console, this hasn't been a problem for me for a super long time, which is why I'm really thrown off right now. I'm like super thrown off that it's not working. I don't know what the deal is. What I do and it work, and I guess you'll have to take my word for it that it works for me always on console. Is you wait until you see Cloud doing the animation, and that's the point where you release X and give nice solid taps on Circle. And then, so because we got, okay, so now back to the walkthrough. Because we got the fight late enough, we can take our steps now. And as you can see from the graph, we kind of barely can only take the steps now. But hey, we can. So, let's do that. So I just hold right out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a half. All right. So now, on the current route, we do like to get this turbo ether, and technically it is less movement to get it right now. To whip around this corner, grab the turbo ether, and then go off to the right. But we're going to come back here later and go and whip around this corner and go down. However, I have found personally that, this is up to preference. If you want to save some steps, grab the turbo ether right away. If your steps are looking fine, I actually kind of prefer to waste the steps by going up here and then across and then down, and I'll show you'll understand why in a minute. It has to do with this particular step route, but if you're just trying to move optimally and save steps, whip around, grab this turbo ether right now. If you even want the turbo ether, if you really want to save steps, don't grab it. But I'd recommend grabbing it. It's a turbo ether. It's really good, and it's right there. But anyway, so what I do to get up here is just give an L1 tap. If you just hold right, you'll go down. So give L1 a little tap to get Cloud up onto the top parts of the tracks here, just like that. And now for this screen, what I have found the best movement is you hold just right and run for now. It's just right and run all the way until the camera starts moving on its own. So we're moving right, and when Cloud gets behind this thing, the camera is going to start shifting downward, at which point switch to just left. So we're just right now. Camera's moving, switch to left. And Cloud goes in this thing, this text box automatically opens. Out of this text box, buffer up and right and run. So these text boxes, there's a little cutscene here. Just be buffering up and right out of this. And now, what I look for here is if you're running up and right, you're going to see Cloud's hair pop out for just a moment right here. And that's what you want to see. So upright until, for like a frame or two, Cloud's hair is going to pop out, at which point you switch to left. So it's upright. Boop. Did you see Cloud's hair? It was right here. Did you see it? Now we know that we switch to left. So that's my method of getting through this room. One more time at speed. It is run right. Camera starts moving, so switch to left. Text box, start mashing. Cutscene starts, so hold up right. Look above the tracks on the angle there for Cloud's hair. Boop, switch to left. And that's this screen. And we are expecting to get a fight at the very end of the screen. If your steps are like absolutely perfect, you can get this fight on the next screen as well. Your formation ID will actually be different though. I'm not sure if it ruins... On this particular step route, I'm not sure if it ruins steps to get the fight on the next screen, but it does change your formation ID. Finish up. Just going left out of the fight. And now I grab the turbo ether, so it's just left. And then as you go up here, I kind of baby this because you can grab this turbo ether from really far away. So just kind of baby upward, you know. When I say baby in it, I mean just like nudge, press circle, nudge, press circle, nudge, press circle, right? And there you go. So get the turbo ether, come back down, a little bit of down right to make sure that you get on the bottom part of the tracks. And now for this part, you just hold right all the way into the cutscene, and this is where you're gonna see why I like to waste that movement, grabbing the turbo ether. Referring to the previous fight, is there any point in forcing the fight on that last screen to be safe? I would say so, yeah. I would say if your steps are like super duper ahead, then you can just release X at the very end of it so that you walk the last couple steps, and you'll pretty sure you'll get the fight if you do that. Because yeah, I mean that would make sure that your step ID is in line with what or that would make sure that your formation ID is in line with what we expect. But okay, so the reason that I like to kind of waste the movement with that turbo ether grab is that now we're gonna get this fight like way back here. If your steps are absolutely perfect and you don't even grab the turbo ether, you can actually, when Cloud runs behind this thing, it's going to start another little camera sweep where he auto runs down here. And you can actually get the fight down here after the camera move. But wherever you get it, this next fight on this step route, you have to take 11 steps after the fight. And I really don't want to get the fight like right here, because that would mean that then I would have to take 11 steps behind some artwork, which then might also go into the automatic camera move. And at that point, I don't know how many steps I took before the camera move started. Also, Cloud's auto movement down is walking, which is not good. And if you get the fight like right here, I think you have to take the 11 steps like immediately after the fight, or otherwise you'll run into another fight right away. So you can't just like run right, get the movement, and then take the 11 steps. So this is why I like wasting the movement for the turbo ether, is because to be very safe, we're just going to get the fight back here. We can very safely take the 11 steps and then start running. And it doesn't matter that we put ourselves behind on steps here, because there's a forced encounter coming up very shortly that is, you know, you catch up on steps right there anyway. So here we go. Encounter. And just to test it and really show what I'm talking about as far as like having to take the steps immediately. Yeah. So as you can see, this is the encounter that we're trying to avoid, and we have barely any running time. If we run, we can see we can only get that far before we've already ran too much. So it's just kind of my preference here. After that fight, on this step route, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then you can run. So it was directly right, whether you're running or walking, directly right until the camera transition happens. Then I switched to directly down. Add L1 around the rock. That's the best movement. And then switch to just down for this bridge. And we are expecting, on this route, we are expecting to get 2 encounters with bombs. Even if you're not on a step route, though, these bombs are very exciting. Okay, so you fight bombs on this bridge, and this is actually why we equipped steel on Tifa earlier. So before Preemptive Genova, we put the steel materia on Tifa, and that is so that we can attempt to steal a right arm from these bombs. So just throw a steel attempt at it as she starts her animation. The reason I wait until she starts her animation is because I don't want to queue up a steal while holding run, and then we end up escaping before she even tries to steal it. So I wait for her animation to start, and then I start running away. The reason that you can run away and be fine is because the right arm is good and helpful. It saves you like 40 seconds if you have it, but it can take significantly longer than 40 seconds to force yourself to steal it, you know? So what that means is it is worth just throwing a steal attempt at the right arm from these guys, but it's not really worth forcing the steal. You know what I mean? You might get one, and you might not. And if you get one, awesome. If you don't, oh well. So here's our second fight. And for the purposes of this tutorial, I am going to force a steal on it so that I can show the fight so that I can show what it does if you get it. So, we're just going to steal here. Oh, okay, we got that pretty quick. All right, let's go. All right. And then we're off. All the way down into Corel. So it's time for Corel now. So keep running down until you trigger this cutscene. Got a little bit of dialogue here. If you steal 2 right arms, then you're one lucky duck. It's a less than 10% chance to steal. So here, buffer down to talk to Barrett as quickly as possible. And then for the movement here, as he starts to run away, I buffer down. And then right around here, switch to down left. And that should get you past this thing. Because it can be kind of wonky to navigate past this thing. So down left works there. And then we want to talk to this weapon shop right here. So, here's the weapon shop. At this point, the first thing we're going to do is sell some materia. Then we're going to sell some items. And then we're going to buy 24 Molotovs. With my money route, it's 24 Molotovs. So that's right and right to get to materia, and we want to sell the second all and cents. If you've been following the menus exactly, it's always this all and this cents that you sell. If you're in doubt, the way to know is that this all doesn't have any AP, and so you can see it doesn't sell for anything. This all does have AP, and so it sells for 1,030. So if you're in doubt, you sell the one that's worth money, and then also sell cents. We don't need it, and it's going to make menuing easier later. Then back out and switch over to items, and if you've been following everything else so far, this menu will always be the same as well, where you go, the things that you want to sell here are the white cape, the ether, and the motor drive for some money. And so if you've been following everything so far, with my menuing, it's always one down to the white cape, down to the ether, and then the thing to the right of the motor drive. Don't pull a dash and sell the fire ring by accident. You need that. And there you go. And then back out to buy, down to the Molotov, up 2 to 21, right 3 to 24, and the absolutely, if you're going willy-nilly with these numbers, the absolutely mandatory thing here is that we buy enough Molotovs to use, but we need to have 3,000 Jill so that we can get into the Jold Saucer. All right? Must absolutely have 3,000 so that we can get into the saucer. All right? So, once again, that menu is sell, all sense, over to item, white cape, ether, motor drive, back out here, 24 Molotovs, and go. And that's it. So once you've done that menu, run on over to the gold saucer. So there is quite a bit of story and dialogue here. I can give you some tips to rest your hands, though. Once you get to this part, you don't have to mash. These scenes that have like just the white text like this for this part, you don't have to mash. You can rest your hands. And then when it loads into the next scene, though, inside the house, you do have to mash here because this is regular dialogue. When he puts his hand on his shoulder, though, you can stop mashing at that point because this is also no mash. So yeah, when the old guy puts his hand on his shoulder, boom, you can rest your hands again. Because then even this next scene is also auto advance, so mashing doesn't do you anything here either. And now, when you get loaded back over here, now it's time to pay attention. So you do have to mash here. And then the thing to pay attention to here is when you get a text box on the bottom right. That is when there's a selection that does save you time in order to get. Right there. I kind of blew past it there. The text box was on the bottom right, kind of after Tifa walks over. There's a couple things on the top left. Boom. Text box on the bottom right. Your next thing is a selection. If you accidentally pick the top one because you did it by accident, you get some more Cloud walks in, Barrett walks in, then you get some more text. A little bit more cutscene, and then they all very slowly walk in. So you want to take the second option here. Don't go on. He says the one thing. Characters walk into Cloud and just buffer up and left. And right away, you run in. They kind of slowly walk in, but you avoid that longer cutscene. And then then once you run in, by the way, I should mention also, so you don't go on, one text box, buffer up left. The moment that Cloud gets in here, boom, bathroom break.